cancer warning. The Observer reported that a petition signed by more than 250 scientists from 35 countries warned that 5G will massively increase the population's exposure to cancer-causing mobile phone radiation. Kensington will be the pilot in Liverpool. New antennas will be implemented on every 10 to 12 houses, massively increasing exposure. The scientists called for a moratorium of the rollout of 5G until independent scientists investigate all health risks. Liverpool City Council is imposing 5G on our city despite the warnings, because it is a part of one of the kill weapons they're using on us, along with many other weapons. I shall expect you, Boris, dear cousin, that had to be in there, not to let the cat out of the bag. I control the EU. 1/5 of the EU's VAT is stolen from British taxpayers. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, Conservative MP for North East Somerset. The Chancellor, Philip Hammond, has just awarded a grant of £7.6 million to do up Wentworth Woodhouse, my wife's 300-room ancestral home. Which is ironic because I voted consistently to penalise benefit claimants who have an extra bedroom. How much longer are we going to put up with this utter shit? Britain started World War I and World War II and both times blamed Germany. He starts at the camera with tight lips and a high collar, more the Prussian general than a British foreign secretary, but Sir Edward Grey knew what he was doing when he got to his feet in the House of Commons at 4 p.m. on August 3rd, 1914. He was starting a world war with Britain's arch rival Germany. What's more, he was pretty plain about why he would ultimately send 885,138 British soldiers to their deaths. The reason was economic. I strongly suggest that you read the rest of that because it fills in more of our hidden history. Links, of course, are in the description. 11 million Germans were murdered after World War II. The book, Gruesome Harvest, the Allied attempt to exterminate Germany after 1945, should be on the mandatory high school and college reading list for history and sociology. It is one of the few books that are available in English that address the murder of millions of non-combatant German civilians and German prisoners of war from 1944 to 1950 as a matter of deliberate Allied policy, not inefficient logistics as it most often presented in school textbooks. It is important because this book was written as it was still happening and includes comments from eyewitnesses in the same time period. The book is not politically correct and shocked me because it speaks in such a prejudicial fashion about persons of the black race. This is what former paedophile protector, at the very least, Nottingham City Council leader Jon Collins is doing now. Former Nottingham City Council leader Jon Collins will help a property development group increase its worth with the public sector and local authorities after being appointed as an advisor. Now, this is actually rather funny because he's been doing that anyway. He's been property developing while he was in the council to his mates, secretly giving them certain properties that he wanted moving, he wanted changing, he wanted improving. And what a shock, he's now actually in the same business. Well, you couldn't make it up, could you? Mr. Collins, who stepped down from the council after local elections in May, has been named public sector advisor to the advisory board of Goldwyn Group, which developed a 4.5-acre Alexander Park housing site in Mapley. I wonder if Collins had anything to do with that. More corruption, do you think? Of course. The position is Mr Collins' first role since leaving the council, where he served in a variety of roles over 32 years, of which were spent as leader, 16 of which were spent as leader. Mr Collins has also chaired the Nottingham and Nottinghamshire Police Authority and served on boards including the Nottingham Primary Care Trust and the D2N2 Local Enterprise Partnership, which other local business support and access to finance. He said, "I am excited to be joining Goldwyn Development's advisory board and to contribute my public sector regeneration and property experience to help support the growth of the future success of the company." Whilst completely and utterly and totally ignoring the fact that the reason he left was because he got slammed and named as a paedophile protector in the outcoming the ICSA report. What else has he done? Misallocation of 3,500 council homes, taking 2 goes at developing Trinity Square, fraudulent misrepresentation and a 3 million settlement in the sale of Dunkirk Fire Station. 50 million squandered by the Radford New Deal for Communities. The current Broadmarsh project, tearing down 2,000 apartments, 15 years after that they had all their windows replaced. Putting a fully funded regeneration scheme for the Meadows up for tender. Yeah, fully funded. Why would you bother putting it up unless you were planning on doing a half-house job and pocketing the difference, eh, John? Nottingham is the most deprived city in the country as a result of this man's leadership, and now he's advisor for a housing developer. On top of this, the notorious children's homes were sold to his friends when the neighbour offered more money for the building. Dodgy land sales, backhanders and the land of the people of Notts. How do I know? Because he told us. Crook, that's all Collins is, and his cronies, something stinks. Declassified CIA document reveal Iraq war had zero, absolutely no justification at all. The justification for going to war in Iraq 13 years ago was based on a 93-page classified document that allegedly contains specific information on former Iraq leader President Saddam Hussein and the weapons of mass distraction program he was apparently running, which was an absolute lie, of course. Now that documents have been declassified and it reveals that there was virtually zero justification for the Iraq war, the document reveals that there was no operational tie between Saddam and Al-Qaeda and no weapons of mass destruction. Links in description if you want to read it, but I'm not shocked by that, and I'm sure you lot aren't either. DWP, you know, the government, the loving, caring government that always looks after us, the men, women and children of this nation. DWP, 2-child benefit limit hits 500,000 children in cruel Tory crackdown. Nearly 500,000 children have seen their families' finances slashed by the Tories. Nasty 2-child cap on benefits. The damaging figure from the first 2 years of the cap alone sparked fresh calls for MPs, charities and more than 100 academic experts to axe the cruel austerity cut, and they smashed claims that the cap would force benefit claimants to make the same choice as working families. All it emerged, 59% of victims have a job. Pioneered by welfare/former Chancellor George Osborne, the limit prevents parents claiming child tax credits or universal credit for third or subsequent children born after 5th of April 2017 to cut off at up to £2,780 per child. That forces families to share the same budget they had for 2 children among their 3, 4 or more. Today's governing government figures show 155,540 households were refused benefit for at least one child between April 2017 and March 2019. Between them, the families have 592,000 children sharing the burden. Why do we put up with this? Why do we put up with it? We need to be dragging these bastards out of Parliament, locking them up, and taking all the pensions, all the properties, and everything off them. And then after them doing some time in prison, throwing them on the streets and see how they like it, with no job, no money. Exclusive, largest paedophile ring in history, 70,000 members, heads of state. Millions read the news today. The paedophile ring busted on the article about how the FBI actually ran it for several weeks, expanding it, drawing in tens of thousands. Those who read it thought they knew, though they were getting the story, but as it so often is the case, the truth goes so much further. The veterans today tied the murder of Supreme Court Justice Anthony Scalia to White House blackmail plot and a strange tale involving the Keshe Foundation. It became clear that the highest and most powerful in Europe, the US and around the world were tied together in a web of ritual child abuse on a massive scale. Today's story is one more aspect of this. VT's involvement goes back to 91, where the key VT staffer worked for America's intelligence community. Now this has been going on for a long time. Don't interfere about all this. This has always been happening. This isn't just happening now. This has been happening for decades and decades, if not hundreds of years. It's just now we're in the time where the veil is being lifted and we're seeing all that they've been up to. But it's not new. It's been going on for a long time. Millions are in deep poverty. Meanwhile, Johnson splurges 100 million on advertising. Welcome to the land of warped priority, where the Tories can find money for ruinous policies, but not for hungry families. Link is in the description if you want to read the title, the rest of it. Another record-breaking year for opium production in US-occupied Afghanistan. Now officially a national federal emergency. The opioid crisis is gutting America. The roots of this complex issue lie in supply, not demand. And while we are beginning to see major pharmaceutical executives being indicted for conspiracy and bribery of doctors, we have a long way to go to turn this thing around. Pharmaceutical and synthetic opioids are a major part of the catastrophe, but the other side of the supply chain is actual opium, and the world's biggest opium market just happens to be occupied Afghanistan, the occupant of the global heroin trade. The United States military has been operating in Afghanistan as part of the war on terror for the 16 years. But basically, they've been protecting the fields because they are the biggest drug smugglers. The CIA, FBI, they're all in it. Anti-abortion MP Jacob Rees-Mogg admits profiting from sale of abortion pills. What a wanker. Links in description. I'm not going to read it because it's just an utter... Rotherham paedophile gangs are still abusing young girls. Exclusive, gangs of Asian paedophiles are still preying on underage girls in Rotherham, claims a survivor of the abuse. A survivor of Rotherham's paedophile gang claims that children exploitation is still common in South Yorkshire town. Sarah Wilson, 23, who was groomed from the age of 11, says that she often sees underage girls soliciting with 30-year-old men and that the authorities are still not effectively protecting children from paedophiles. Well, that's no surprise there because they're involved with it. England has become the most crowded major nation in Europe, official figures have revealed. I know a way to sort that out. Let's bring some more immigrants in. The number of people living in England has overtaken the population density of Holland, which has traditionally been the most densely populated major nation of the continent. The count, which has been attributed to higher levels of immigration, shows England has now 395 people per square mile. The figures were obtained in a parliamentary answer from the official Office of National Statistics. But they're still bringing them in. Can you see? It's a plan. Chlorine in drinking water first linked to heart attacks and stroke in the 1960s, and now cancer. So why is it still in our drinking water? Part of the depopulation plan. I've been saying it all along. I've been telling you, letting you know. Look at the independent research people. Water supplies worldwide are producing negative health effects with major scale going on. Chlorine is the new sticking plaster for all the polluted waterways. However, it is carcinogenic. We are being slowly poisoned. What I've been saying all along. Many families will not know this, and many, if they do know, will not be able to afford to filter it out. See our water pages and share this information. What else are we importing into this country? I'll tell you what else we're importing into this country. This. Taharush Jami, a practice where women are openly raped. Rape should not even happen in this world, but when it does, it's usually behind doors or in dark alleys. Taharashu Jami, Tarash means collecting harassment in Arabic, is a practice where women are openly raped or sexually assaulted by a large crowd of men in a barbaric manner. These offenders are bolder because they feel safe in numbers. As these occurrences take place in very large crowds, the offenders usually go unpunished, as it would be difficult to determine who did what. What's worse is it was reported by the humanitarian that the harassment was perceived as a game. And we're importing it into this country. Well, we're not. The criminals in Parliament are. The Guardian. Social life may lower the risk of dementia. Tory rebels threaten PM after majority cut to 1. The Times. No river safe for bathing. Wow, that was worthwhile, wasn't it? Daily Fail. New Home Secretary vows to restore confidence in police. Pretty, I want criminals to be terrified. Miss Mischief Mark 2. Which royal mum got her hands full again? More parasiting. You know, we need a little bit gap filling. What do we do? Put something about the parasites in it. Express. Showdown over wonder drug. Cystic fibrosis sufferers could get new hope as Health Secretary agrees crunch talks over deal. Sunny holiday for TV's golden couple. Or just put a picture of them two in if you can't find anything to do with the royals. Mirror. Hospitals falling to bits. Horror state of NHS building reveals after brutal 4.29 billion maintenance cuts. We need to go down and drag them bastards out and lock them up. Or you lot can decide the punishment. Telegraph. Killers and kidnappers receive benefits. Writing's too small for me to read, but I would have read that because that sounds interesting. Kennedy curse strikes again. Sock it to 'em, Bobby. Heathrow cancels holiday flights ahead of workers' strike. Tax on tech giants will rule out trade deal, warns Washington. But let's just cut to the. That's just utter bullshit. Because these mega corporations pay no tax. It's only you, me, and normal men, women, and children that pay tax. Aye. Football's back. Jeez, already. PM urged to make climate change his top priority because we know the majority of the population are now seeing that it's a total fake scam. So let's push that a bit more, shall we? Environmental agencies call on government to invest in green initiatives in wake of hottest ever July. Piss off. Warnings come as Johnson visits crews working to repair damaged reservoir threatening to flood Derbyshire town. Waste of paper. Kells hell. Brooke, my ex Statham was skint. Now he's got 35 million. The scum. Exclusive Hollywood split. Lover 24 dumps Bake Off star 53. Gagging contract was the final straw. Summer's over, Paul. FT. Trump escalation of trade war drives investors to seek safety. US bond biggest rally since 2014. Jobs data defy gloom. Bond yields turn negative. 2 former executives accused of fraud at goal soccer centres. Goal soccer. Yeah. Edinburgh. Yeah. And finally, common sense. My boss thinks I am a fool. Yesterday he sent me to buy 2 kilograms of sugar, but I only found 1 kilogram at the shop, so I didn't buy. I went back to the office and told him that they only had 1 kilogram. Very pissed at me, he asked me why I didn't use my brain and buy 2 1 kilogram packs to make a total of 2 kilograms. Today he sent me to buy a pair of size 6 slippers, but I only found size 3. This time I used my brain and bought 2 pairs of size 3s to make size 6. I took them to him and he told me to wait outside. I can see him typing, I guess it's a promotion letter. Men at 25 play football. Men at 40 play tennis. Men at 60 play golf. Have you noticed that as you get older, your balls get smaller? What a time to be alive. Underwear patch to make your farts smell like mint.